Hello, everyone, and welcome to Writers Drinking Coffee. This is a podcast where writers sit around drinking tasty beverages to talk about writing, publishing, and the whole creative process. There will be rants and raves and opinions that may not agree but are lovingly delivered. We do not censor ourselves, so consider us PG-13. Today, your hosts are David Welsh, Deirdre Schween, and me, Jeannie Warner. This is episode 225, interview with Leokadia George. Welcome, Leokadia.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, we are so delighted. You are here to talk about your series of children's books about Trumpet, the gray wolf from, as it happens, childhood, love, motherhood, as the series progresses, and that is so cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really great to write Trumpet the Miracle Wolf Pup about a real wolf. She is a critically endangered Mexican gray wolf, and I'm just so honored to be able to share her story with young kids and, of course, their families, anybody reading to them. And thank you so much for highlighting this series.
Oh, my delight. I even love that on other notes that I've seen in other places, all species that are tagged and watched get a number. So Trumpet is number F1505, right?
Yes. So what that means is she is the 1,505th wolf born into the breeding program to help save the species from extinction.
Yay!
Cool. And the F stands for female, or does it mean something else?
Yeah, female, and then male will get the M.
Cool.
How does one get involved? I mean, clearly you got involved with saving and preserving native species. Did you just say, I want to do this? Did you wake up? How did you get involved?
So my sister-in-law, she was visiting with my brother, and she loves wolves. She found the Wolf Conservation Center, which is about half an hour away from me, but I had no idea it existed. And so she requested to go and visit. And unfortunately, at the time, there were no tickets available, and they had to fly back to Italy. So she wasn't able to go, but I noticed on their website they had volunteer opportunities. So I signed up, and I've been hooked ever since.
That's fantastic. I've been pondering a little bit because the efforts put forth here, the creation of enemies since the dawn of time in storytelling. And we recently interviewed a Dr. Bernstein from Harvard that talked about the historical context of creating an enemy to unite a group. So there was a fear of Indians and then blacks, which leads right into your efforts to destigmatize wolves from fairy tales and, frankly, the inevitable rural urban legends of, oh, they're so scary.
Right.
It's an uphill battle, right? It's built into our language now, thrown to the wolves.
It very much is, yeah. Interestingly, the wolf in Little Red Riding Hood it was not a wolf. The wolf is representing a man. And just to make it, I guess scarier and something that can be shared with kids in, I guess, a fairy tale type of way, they created the wolf instead. So it's really unfortunate that that book became probably one of the most popular books that children's books that we have. And it's all, a falsehood.
Well, Laura Ingalls Wilder did it too with Little House on the Big Woods. I mean, ooh, there's wolves howling, but Daddy and the dog are going to protect her, which
Right.
one presumes that wolves are howling because they want to eat you, and two, really kind of casts you as wolves are something that you need to be protected from every night. And that too kind of created the American mythos of, oh, wolves bad.
Right, yeah. Interestingly, oftentimes wolves howling is basically a family celebration, just kind of talking with each other, singing with each other. Oftentimes
wolf
having nothing
hootenanny.
to do. Yeah, it's so, yeah, that's interesting that it can create fear when it really is not necessarily anything to do with hunting.
And we have so many stories recently in the last couple of decades about reintroducing wolves and how the natural population, the plant population, everything gets better when wolves are part of the system. Yet the default response is still wolf scary.
Right. when people hear that, they're like, how is that possible? They don't believe it. And if you think about, oh, it's not the wolf helping the plants itself, it is the wolf regulating the ungulate population, the hoofed animals that will be eating the plants, until the ground if they don't have a reason to stop and move. And if there are no wolves around or no apex predator like that, they'll feel comfortable just to kind of stand around and eat everything around them.
Right.
But if they're in the area, they'll kind of look up and be like, all right, I think we've had enough in this spot. Let's go move to a different spot. And
Bob and weave, people, bob and weave.
Robin, yes.
yes, exactly. And so, and that's how they help the plant population, and those little saplings actually grow to trees, whereas they don't really have a chance if the ungulates are just eating them as saplings.
So the deer are the real villains here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, all of the ungulates, but
Well, yeah, but I mean, presumably the cows are not a natural prey of wolves. I mean, I'm sure they eat them if they get the chance, but
true.
Yeah, if you just look at it as wolves help restore balance,
Mhm.
everything then makes sense.
There was an article that I was reading on ranchers versus wolves. I mean, and who deserves the land. And it really did matter of it's not just them, it's everything. You can look at the land between the Tigris and Euphrates, which is basically a desert now, and they sigh and say, yeah, it was too much shepherding and way too many sheep that eat all the way down to the bottom, and without move along, as you said, Dave, that's it. They just sort of move along. But this helps. I think books like yours kind of invest that little bit in education, saying, hey, wolves are okay. It's not quite as hilarious as they did that movie that just came out, The Bad Guys, where the big bad wolf was the lead bad guy.
Yeah. And I do have to say, in this area, at least, conservationists are trying to work more with ranchers. We do recognize that having a rancher there is better for the wolves than having a condominium complex. So we are trying to work together and basically work on ways to mitigate wolves predating on their livestock. And interestingly, they're finding different ways to do that. And it's a variety of ways, and changing things up. But one new thing that they were doing was they're actually using drones and blasting AC/DC. Apparently, wolves don't really like to rock out to that. So they get a little scared and they kind of run off. I'm sure they'll change up the mix as far as what they're playing.
Wait till they hear Tool.
Yeah, but we really do recognize that, we do have to work together as a team to really coexist and everybody feel comfortable.
yeah, that's interesting, and I'd be interested to know if there are any other kind of. I mean, that's kind of a new thing because of a new technology introduced, but what other sort of ways do they have to keep predation down on livestock? I would
They have a variety of ways. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I would think, tell me if this is wrong, but I would think that if things are arranged such that there's enough natural prey around, in other words, deer or whatever else the wolves would otherwise be eating, that they leave the cows alone.
They typically do. One of the things that can be an issue if, let's say, the ranchers are allowing their cattle to graze in an area where, let's say, the wolf mother is denning, then the wolves kind of stick to that area. And if, an easy meal is coming close by, they're likely going to go after that. So that's one of the things they kind of work on, hey, there's wolves in this area denning, let's have the grazing at a different site for that time period until the puppies are out of the den and the wolves can kind of move a little bit with more ease. But there's a variety of ways. They use range riders, so someone, just sticking with the livestock, and if the wolves start coming into that area, then scaring off the wolves. And so it is definitely a critical thinking type of approach and being able to be flexible. But I think people are up to the challenge and we don't have to just go ahead and kill. We can figure this out as a non-lethal method and coexist.
Right. The more you learn about them, the more you understand their behavior, the more options you have.
Right.
Well, also the less scary. I mean, I've been pondering children's books through the guise of graphic novels here, and as you have the story of Trumpet the Miracle Wolf, did you start by just kind of writing it down, or were you thinking in pictures at first, or how did you approach this? Because picture books are, the very young age, which is a perfect time to teach kids that wolves aren't inherently evil or scary. But how did you, when you were thinking about this, what got you to pens on paper?
Right. Well, it actually is her story. So originally, I just learned about her story. I learned it through two of the staff members at the Wolf Conservation Center, and learned, why her birth was considered a miracle birth. Her father only had one pup, and she is the one pup, and they didn't think that he could have any. So they considered that a miracle. And then also just learning about how she got her name and all her experiences along the way. So obviously the first one's the introduction, and then the second one, Trumpet Grows Up, is pup development, all the observations that we've made, and including her own experiences growing up. And then the third one, Trumpet Finds Love, she actually did get moved to a different enclosure, and her mate was flown in from Arizona on a flight that was arranged by Light Hawk Conservation Flying. As a thank you to them, the Wolf Conservation Center nicknamed him Light Hawk. It was the perfect opportunity to highlight this aspect of conservation. It, of course, then, the fourth one that was just released this year, Trumpet Becomes a Mom, she had given birth to those puppies live on the web cameras from the den camera.
Aw.
And we were able to, see how she really came into her own as becoming a mother. And she's an amazing mother. But most of this story is based on what we've observed from her.
But still, somebody had to say, I'm going to write this down. So go you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I go back for a second? I was going to ask at the beginning of the episode, how did she get her name? Speaking as somebody who plays trumpet, I have to ask.
Yeah. So when they had kind of a little bit of a suspicion that maybe she had, her mother, Rosa, had puppies, but they didn't see, where she was going. And so when they were looking for the potential puppy, they couldn't find any puppy. And all of a sudden they started hearing, it was one staff member, Barbara, she started hearing this noise coming from the service pen area, and looked in one of those boxes, and there she was. So she was super loud, and that's how she got their name, Loud Like a Trumpet. So
Okay.
She was heralding her own arrival.
yeah, they wouldn't have found her other than, her being loud. So
Just the sheer volume, though, huh?
yeah,
So
exactly.
they could have named her Bagpipe. They could have named her.
They could have, but Trumpet, that's a great name. So
It is a great name.
And I wanted to call out your illustrator, Maddie Moore's work. I mean, the pictures of the wolves are absolutely adorable, and they have individual looks that you can identify them just by looking at the pictures. But also the pictures of the staff. I don't know whether or not they actually look like those staff members, but everyone is very individualized, but there's always like a hand in front of the face or a phone or whatever, so that they're not the focus. And it's beautifully done art.
Yeah, no, she did an amazing job, especially like capturing the facial emotions with the wolves. But also, that was by design. I asked her to cover all the faces of the people. I really wanted the reader, especially young kids, to really have that connection with the wolves. And I wanted them to know about the people, but I did not want them to have the connection so much with the people versus the wolves. I really wanted the wolves to be the focal point.
Well, it was a good job and good explaining it to your artist, because yes, 100%. That is what you have achieved.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, she did. She's amazing.
I liked that approach generally because there are, I mean, for people that are not pet owners, they don't realize that animals have facial expressions. They truly, truly
Mhm.
do. I mean, I'm a cat person, so my cat, I thought last somebody said over 200 expressions. I'm like, yeah, but dogs do too. Dogs have that. Are you going to eat that whole sausage yourself? have
Right.
you
Yes.
seen
Yeah,
that
they
I put a
definitely.
ball here? You know, there's so many different little and oh my God, get that child away from me. You know, we've seen those expressions, and I love to see those brought forth on the wolves.
Mhm. A lot of the illustrations were actually based on real pictures of the wolves at the Wolf Conservation Center. So a lot of it was just wolves being wolves. So,
So let me ask a question. Eastern Mexican wolf, but the Wolf Conservation Center is in upstate New York.
yeah.
Are the Mexican gray wolves everywhere, or were they brought there specifically because of the conservation center?
So the Mexican gray wolves, they almost went extinct. Their population went down to seven.
Oh, wow.
And they're naturally in both Mexico and the United States. The last seven were in Mexico. And realizing that without the US help, scientific setup, and they were going to go extinct. So Mexico gave them over to the US. Then in the US Fish and Wildlife, they started a program to help save the species from extinction. And it was basically a breeding program. There are over 50 facilities that participate in this breeding program now. And so that's how they're in various states where they're not naturally, where they didn't naturally live. Right now, they have been re-released to the wild, but only in Arizona, New Mexico, and Mexico. So that's the release site for the
Nice.
Mexican gray wolves. But there's a facility in Massachusetts, Stone Zoo. A lot of zoos will participate in this program as well. Pennsylvania, Lehigh Zoo. There's a bunch of different facilities that house these wolves, and some that actually participate in having a breeding pair increase the population.
I mean, I
And
vaguely wonder because we understand there's the timber wolf is different than the plains wolf and certainly different than that Arctic wolf, all white. But with only seven, you have a very limited genetics to work from. Is there a little bit of judicious interbreeding then?
So they're all related. The population in the wild, I don't know currently, but for the most part, they're all full siblings. A trumpet has had puppies cross-fostered into the wild, and when Trumpet was born, she was considered the number one most genetically distinct female in the entire population. So her genetic material was very valuable to helping save the species. And so she does have puppies that have been located in the wild. And so those wolves, wouldn't necessarily be considered full siblings to, let's say, the other wolves that are out there. However, the it is a real huge challenge for the people that,
genetic diversity.
yeah, yeah. It's each wolf has, a whole history of their genetic, what am I saying, family tree, or and so they will decide who is best to breed with whom, as far as maintaining the most genetic diversity that they possibly can with the challenges of, having all related to those seven founding members. It's a big challenge.
And I note that according to the Wolf Conservation Center, there are now 286. So
In
exponential
the
growth
in the
from
wild.
seven. Yeah, in the wild. That's
Yeah, there's more, just because a lot of these facilities will have wolves, but in the wild, currently I believe there are 286. I don't know the last count, but I think
right.
that's roughly the amount.
That was the
It's
last time
like
the website was updated.
it's like trying to breed Habsburgs without hemophilia.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, I love the notion of following her as she grows up because right now I was thinking back of wolves in comic books and there's Bigby, from Fables, big bad wolf, and he was secretly in love with Snow, Snow White. And what would an adult version of Trumpet be like if she went off and said, okay, I love what you're doing with the kid side of it. Is there an adult side of it too? A graphic novel, something more in you?
I do have one more book to be released in her series, and I actually sent in the manuscript. So hopefully, my publisher, Briley and Baxter Publications, they will hopefully love it. And that last book in the series is going to highlight the cross foster process or the foster process, where they take one of the puppies, and they did take one of her puppies and flew that puppy out to the wild, put that puppy in a den with another mother with puppies around the same age. And wolves will adopt the puppies. They love puppies, and they're one of the species that will adopt puppies from another family. And I wanted to highlight that process. So hopefully that book will come out. And after that, there is a potential for, I don't know if it would be for adults or maybe for older kids. But one of the puppies, actually two of the puppies that were cross-fostered from Trumpet have been located in the wild. And one of them was located when he was about 5 months old. So they were able to put a collar on him and track his movements. And I think it would be just an amazing story for maybe older kids or younger kids, but older than this age range, which is 3 to 8, to basically kind of track his movements, what he would have potentially experienced in the wild, and kind of go through a story with that. So that's a potential.
Have you considered taking up some of these wolves versus ranchers and saying, "Hey, here's the struggle," and kind of bring in that teenager understanding of the world is not always kind. This is how to navigate it. I mean, if they don't like AC/DC, I understand, but
You mean having these books given to ranchers or?
oh, no, no, no. I mean more of the as Trumpet grows up and as Trumpet's cubs gets fostered out into another place, to start introducing some of the world challenge, for that to in a different place. Like Colorado did a bit of the Gray Wolves Project, and it's been wonderfully successful in what I've read about it. So how
Oh, you're talking about like talking tours or something like that,
no,
with the
no,
highlight being the books?
no, I'm talking about you right now. You're kind of writing for that age range. Have you considered
Oh,
writing up the
okay.
next age range for a new series of, Trumpet's kid or grandkid saying, well, here's the farmer just didn't really understand, but this is
Yeah.
So introduce some of the more
Adult
subtle
factors.
factors and concepts to do with this topic that older kids might understand, but the younger kids, it's just you got to kind of gloss over that stuff, right? For the
yeah.
younger kids.
Yeah, no, and that was one of the big challenges with writing this story. So, and I think a lot of children's books that are about wolves tend to be for slightly older kids because of this challenge, because there is such scientific terminology or concepts that go along with wolf conservation in general, or even wolf behavior. And one of the challenges that I had writing in this series was to kind of cut out a lot or simplify terms or even define terms and limit how many terms I would use in the books. For example, I did use the term critically endangered, but I defined it in a way that a very young kid would understand, and then left it at that. No more terminology for that book, which was the first book. Yeah, so there is definitely a potential to kind of go through, to write a book that has that is for an older age range, so that we could talk a little bit more about conservation. But for when I recognized that Trumpet's story would be great for young kids, I really wanted it to be for young kids, because there are so few books that introduce young kids to conservation, or even books about wolves. For instance, on Amazon, the category that these books are in are fox and wolf books. They don't even have a category by themselves because there are just not that many books.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things I felt was really, really important is for young kids to have a series. So yeah, I would definitely like to write for an older population, but I'm really glad that at least this series is for the young ones because they deserve, a
Absolutely.
heartfelt, book that also kind of says, hey, conservation is important.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's cool. So, and the flip side of that is, they understand sometimes more than we give them credit for. So, like introducing a key concept like critically endangered to them is probably a good exercise for everybody involved.
Right. I think the key for young kids is not to overwhelm them. So when I introduced that, there was no more concepts in that story, highlighted, just so that they could have that one focal point to kind of grasp. And the benefit about children's books is that they're not read just once. They're read over and over and over again. So it allows the child to really understand that concept, learn about it, and so I think that it's just not about overwhelming them. That's the key.
That makes sense. So we'll be expecting another trumpet book. What's it going to be called? Do you know?
So I do believe I'm going to have the subtitle of "Trumpet Gives Hope to the Wild." That little wolf that was the first cross foster into the wild from Trumpet. She was nicknamed Hope, and so
Aw,
I really thought that that was a really great way to highlight, her journey, but also obviously she was named Hope for a reason because she is a hope for the wild, and I think that's just also a very positive way of looking at, a cross foster. And for children, the positivity is really what resonates with them.
I love it. I love it.
Absolutely.
I could name a whole lot of species Hope right now.
Yeah, yeah. We need more hope.
So where do you see, I mean, are you looking at personally, are you going to expand beyond this, or is trumpet what you have, or do you have the writing bug and now you have stories to tell?
So I definitely have the writing bug. What I've learned, and I learned this very quickly, is that as far as children's books, or I think books in general, writing is the easy part about it. It really is the marketing that's the big challenge. Getting, and I thank you again so much for highlighting these books because a lot of people just don't even know the books exist. And that's, one of the biggest challenges to just let the public know, hey, these books are out there, kids are enjoying them. And, it's just getting people to know.
Yeah.
Well, I hear,
Well, we're happy to help, and I'm sure both our
Thank
listeners
you.
will get a lot out of this.
absolutely. I had a question of, are you thinking of going digital at all or reading them? Or I always say more formats are better formats.
Right, yeah. So there is a children's book, video called Storytime Pup, and the first book is on that. So they did basically a digital version of they have a guy in a costume that's dressed up as a dog, and he reads various stories. And so one of the stories was Trumpet the Miracle Wolf Pup. So that's definitely one digital version. I haven't had any like the Kindle version, or I haven't done that, and that is a potential. Um, with this process, it's like always there's never enough time. So
Yes.
right now I'm just really focusing on getting these books out to the public, out in libraries, out in schools, and they typically, want a physical book for, kids to be either able
Yeah.
to check out and take home with them, or, having a classroom to read in front, and then have the kids be able to take the book and read during quiet time. Or so that's been my real big focus and push. And but it's definitely something in the back of my mind that having like a Kindle version or a digital version.
Yeah,
That's
I wouldn't think kids' books would be as popular for Kindle, or that Kindle would be as popular a format for kids' books, especially since you kind of lose the physicality of the book for one thing, but
Right.
it's also I've never been impressed with Kindle's ability to incorporate illustrations, or it just seems like it would be awkward and
I've
could
been
Well,
lose.
convinced
Right.
by kids that had an iPad though, so I just want to say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm not saying it's
I mean,
useless, but
yeah, the
yeah,
basic Kindle not so much, but they actually have come out with not just Amazon, but most of the e-readers now have specifically full color versions. I ran into them because of comic books, but they are absolutely fabulous for graphic novels.
okay. Well, my experience in that regard might be a little dated because I couldn't find any good
yeah.
options 10 years ago or whatever. So
Are you
yeah.
calling yourself old?
No, I am not. I am saying that I tried reading graphic novels on e-readers a while back, and it did not go well, and I haven't gone back. So
Right.
that's all I'm saying.
Yes, the technology has advanced.
Well, we
Yep.
will still put links to the fascinating things we've discussed during this episode on our website, which is www.writersdrinkingcoffee.com. Leokadia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Please check out the books. Also, the Wolf Conservation Center has web cameras. Their website is newyorkwolf.org. And, definitely spread the word. Wolves, they're not the monster that they're depicted as. They're actually very shy, elusive, and super interesting.
If you love your dog, you're loving something that was once a wolf, everybody.
Right. Exactly.
Exactly. You've been listening to Writers Drinking Coffee, a labor of love and enthusiasm put together by the hosts. Our main web magic is cast by Deirdre Schween, and our sound engineer is Ksenia Chernyevskia. Our intro and exit music is performed by Michael Engberg, who lives down under in Hervey Bay and runs Tin Can Music School. Our podcast sponsors are Arm Street in Kharkiv, Jackal Designs, The Bean Scene, distilleries that make maple bourbon, and every single place that's working for the conservation of species, because animals make our world. And hey, thanks for listening.